Good afternoon. I am Bill McLaughlin. I'm chair of the dance department at Boston Arts Academy. And I want to thank you for joining us today as we continue to wrap up the Boston Arts Academy Art Symposium, The Art of Overcoming. We're very excited today. We have a BAA alumni and Alvin, Ailey, American Dance Theater performer, Kirven Douthit-Boyd, who is also the co-artistic director of the Center for Creative Arts in St. Louis, where he co-directs with his husband, Antonio Douthit-Boyd. So we want to just welcome you, Kirven, to BAA's Art Symposium. Today's focus of the symposium is renewal, right? And as a teacher, as an artist, as a dancer, I'm sure you understand that these times have been very challenging times for artists and for dancers. So I was wondering if you've been able to experience a sense of renewal or transformation during these challenging times that we've been living in.
For sure. I think that one of the most amazing things about living a life as an artist is that you kind of spend your time in a constant state of renewal. I think, I was very fortunate to dance with the Ailey company soon after I left the Arts Academy. Actually, I joined the second company right after I graduated in 2002, and then I joined the main company in 2004. And the rep for the Ailey company is so diverse. We would have to go from something, choreographed by Christopher Wilden, which is really classical, to something by Ron Brown, which is very grounded and musical and a lot of movement, to Rennie Harris, which was hip hop choreography, and choreography by Judith Jamison, which she was always experimenting with her creative voice. So her work, there was never anything consistent about her work. So we were always consistently learning ourselves, bringing new sides of ourselves to different situations. I was growing up into into manhood and discovering my interests, both artistically, but also just getting to tour the world and getting to experience different cultures and getting to experience different art forms. It really informed and kept me, I would say, in a constant state of renewal. So with these troubling times right now, there first was the frustration, right? The frustration of everything coming to a screeching halt, and then having to communicate with everyone that you are so used to being in person with through a computer screen, And so once I got over that hump, so to speak, it was like, okay, how do I continue to engage in this art form? And how do I continue to make it meaningful for not only just for myself, but I'm now an educator, both at the university level and in the community arts center where I teach. So I had to think about my student body. What is it that I can do for them to keep them engaged and to keep them inspired? Because that's the beautiful thing about the art of dance and doing it in person, is that being able to use imagery and to use language in order to inspire. So, going back to my career as an artist, again, we're in a constant state of renewal, a constant state of transformation. So, it actually, those things transfer into, a skill, I think, in order to, get real creative at this time. So, it's a constant state of renewal. Every day there's something different.
Yeah, and as we were talking before we went online, your actual your role within the Ailey organization has transformed as you've transformed into this teacher at the university level, the director of an arts program. Is that correct? Could you maybe talk a little bit about that, how your role within the company has transformed?
Yeah, of course. I was invited back last December to perform again as a guest artist, and it was interesting to bring all of the things, because there was a 5-year gap of me actually dancing with the company, so to bring all of that information with me to the same work that I had done for 11 years before that, it was really incredible to connect with the dancers in that way again, to connect with the institution in that way. But since leaving, I've done outreach. I've performed a couple of times. I've done the Fall for Dance in North
Cool.
gala in Canada. I've done a couple of galas in Monterey. So I have done some guesting and some performing on behalf of the company since leaving, and I've also staged works by Mr. Ailey, by Miss Jameson, by Mr. Battle on companies in Japan, and then on some of the professional dancers here in St. Louis. So, and also just trying to bring in, former and current members of the company to either teach workshops or master classes or to choreograph all my students. And so I've definitely been keeping ties with the organization, since.
And continuing to, we had this, sorry to interrupt, we had this whole conversation within our department at BA about how do you continue to kind of teach and connect in a way these traditions that have been passed on in dance for generations in a way that's personable and personal. And I think the fact that it's actually in our bodies as dancers that we can still kind of connect with what has been passed on to us for all of our training. So I know you didn't come just to talk to me. I know you also wanted to specifically talk to students. So I would love to open up the floor to students who may have, some of the BA students who might have questions for you or comments. So let's see if we have any hands raised in the chat. Giving them a couple of minutes. Or, there we go, here's one. Christopher Smith.
Okay. My question is, was Ailey always the first company you wanted to be in?
So interestingly enough, I went into the Arts Academy. So I'm very old, guys. I was part of the first 4-year graduating class of the school. So when I went into the Arts Academy on its very first day of ever being open. And so I knew that I loved to dance, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it. I auditioned for the Arts Academy pretty much because my family was like, you love to dance. We'd rather you be in an artistic environment for, these high school years. So, why don't you audition? And thankfully I got in, and that same year, I saw the Ailey Company on a field trip made possible by the Boston Celebrity Series. They gave us all free tickets to see the company. And actually, I wasn't going to go because they had also given us tickets to see Boston Ballet's Nutcracker before in December. And I was like, yeah, this is beautiful, but I don't really identify with anything that I see on that stage. And I love ballet, but I'm not I'm not crazy about what this is. And hadn't really seen a whole lot before that. And Ailey Week happened in April of that spring. It was the spring of 1999, and I saw it for the first time, and I literally said to Miss Chan and Miss Thomas afterwards, I was like, I'm gonna do that. I don't know how, but I'm gonna do that. And it was so inspiring to see people who looked like me on the stage, and there was everything. There was classical vocabulary. They were obviously classically trained. They were obviously, trained in modern dance. There was a beauty and an elegance and just this energy that was tangible, and it was also out of this world. And so I was I left I felt like I was flying, that after seeing them for the first time. So I literally started dancing everywhere. I did dual enrollment at the Boston Conservatory. I trained at Boston Youth Moves, which was at the Jeanette Neal Dance Studio. Unfortunately, that program doesn't exist anymore. I trained summers at the Ailey School. I literally went from dancing 5 days a week at BAA to dancing 7 days a week until I graduated and joined Ailey too. And so it was literally like a domino effect for me. I saw them for the first time when I was a freshman, and I was like, holy cow. And I danced with the company, 3, 4, 5 years later, I was there.
Great, thank you. Other questions, guys? Let's see some hands up.
Zaria has a question, and Leslie as well.
Okay.
Awesome, Zaria.
Did you ever see yourself getting that far in your dance career?
I saw Ailey, I was inspired, I wanted to do it, but there's no way to ever really guess how far you'll get. Honestly, you kind of have to stick to it, and if you love it, you continue to work through all of the things that kind of make you feel like, is this for me, or can I do this? I was just always hungry. I love to dance, and I was always very interested in learning new genres, new styles, new everything. So I always kept that with me. Again, that constant state of renewal, constant state of transformation. So I never anticipated getting as far as I did. And, coming from Boston, I was like, I don't know a lot of people that have, I was like, I know some of my educators have left and they've come back to teach me what they know. But, it wasn't, when I was in high school, I wasn't hearing about a lot of dancers that were leaving Boston and going on to do, really major professional things. So I was just fearless, honestly. I was just like, I'm going to step in the room. I'm going to show you what I got. If you like it, okay. If you don't, that's also okay. I'll figure it out. But yeah, I was just always really, really fearless.
Leslie.
How is it like traveling all around the world, especially in Japan?
It honestly, that's one of the things that I miss the most about being a dancer full time, is that literally every year we were we got to experience different places, and it was incredible. I've danced on stages in Paris. I've danced on stages in Israel. I've danced on stages in China. I've toured so many places in Germany, Oslo, been to Sweden. I've been so many places. My passport is it's like a nice thick book. And a little personal note, I'm actually kind of afraid to fly. I really don't like getting on airplanes, but every time I would talk myself up to it, and we would get to these incredible places, and it would just be it's interesting experiencing different cultures, especially in theater, because each culture is different. Some were very quiet and would erupt into applause at the end, and some of them were not quiet at all throughout the whole thing. So it was quite a really remarkable experience.
It looks like we have two more questions, Kirven, that I think we can fit in before we need to wrap up. Adriana, Adriana, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. My question was, who is your biggest dance inspiration?
Wow.
And hi, Kirven.
Who is my biggest dance inspiration?
Yeah.
Oh, some of my favorite dancers in the whole wide world, Matthew Rushing, who actually is the associate director of the Ailey company, Desmond Richardson, who was a very well-known dancer with Ailey. He also danced in Frankfurt, in Ballet Frankfurt, William Forsythe's Ballet Frankfurt. He danced with American Ballet Theater. He was just this god of of a human. That was one of my favorites. Also, I would always look back in archives when I was young. We would always be down so the Arts Academy shared a library with Fenway when I was there. So I would go down there and watch all of the American Ballet Theater videos, watch New York City Ballet videos of Arthur Mitchell and just all these pioneers of dance. So those are some of my all-time favorite artists.
Beautiful. And last question, Rosie.
At one point, did you ever think about giving up or anything like that?
I wouldn't say I ever thought about giving up. I will say that there were times when I was I really had to face how hard a career as an artist is, you know, and there were times when I was like, okay, I need to stop and regroup and see why this is not going the way that I wanted it to go. But, you know, to be honest, I love to dance. And so I was always very, I don't know, I've dedicated my life to this art form since I was very, very young. So there was never a point in time when I thought that it was not going to be a part of my life.
Well, Kirven, it seems like we've come to the end of
Oh no, so quickly.
our 15 minutes. I want to say that you continue to be an inspiration. You were an inspiration when you were young. And we really appreciate you coming in here and
Thank
taking
you.
this moment. And we're looking forward to having you back when we're close as well
Yeah.
as remote. And I want to just give you the last word. So what is next for you in your career, with your teaching, with your performing? Last words.
You know, I'm keeping this dance, this great art form of dance at the forefront of my life. You know, I finished an MFA 2 years ago now, crazy to think about. So I have a master's degree. I've been thinking about continuing my education and maybe, you know, I don't know, like keeping the art of dance at the forefront and, you know, learning the new ways that we're going to have to interact in this space and seeing how we can, you know, make the best use of these platforms. So I'm just rolling with the punches, so to speak.
Rolling with it. Well, thank you again for being here, Kirven Douthit-Boyd. We really appreciate you coming out today. Always an inspiration. You take care.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
You guys can
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Keep Boston on the map, y'all.
Thank you. Thanks so much.